He prioritized proven track record, competency, positive energy, and affection for the vulnerable over the easy choices. Betta Edu is a vibrant, compassionate, extraordinary performer who has experienced the rudiments of leadership from her days as the Vice President of the Student Union Government, Special Advisor in Cross River to the Pioneer Director General of Cross River State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Commissioner of Health in Cross River State, and the Chairman of all Commissioners of Health in Nigeria. She was elected the youngest national woman leader of any political party in Africa, helping galvanizing women's support all over the country, then to be appointed Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the youngest in the history of the Fourth Republic. It is no wonder the President chose a consistent performer despite political and perceived opposition from older generations, and those aware of Dr. Edu's seriousness and technocracy to that very sensible ministry, which is the human face of the renewed hope agenda for the poor. Getting the ministry working right would have solved Nigerian problems by over 70%, with 3 million people living below poverty line, an additional 10 million people thrown into poverty between January and April 2024. According to World Bank macro poverty outlook for Nigeria, that was the latest deliverable Dr. Edu promised to deliver, and she was all hands on deck from day one. Below are just a few achievements she had achieved with the images you will see in, as you go through the text of this in print. While shattering glass ceilings, doing the impossible for the President's renewable mandates, going out to the very poorest of the remote areas in the country, managing internally displaced persons, disabled and vulnerable at large, the corrupt system orchestrated ways to force her out of office. Little wonder that by the end of December 2023, an international paper, The Guardian UK, and several organizations rated her as the best performing minister of this government due to her performance. The young minister was everywhere, both within and outside the country, campaigning with the President during the elections, believed strongly in his 8-point agenda, targeted at reducing poverty and fighting corruption. Among other points, she was diligent enough to expose a 44.8 billion naira unapproved transfers in December 2023 by the National Social Investment Program Agency under the supervision of her ministry. The principal took a positive step in line with the determination to fight corruption by suspending the government, that's the national committee, involved. Little did he know that the large network of prospective beneficiaries from the unapproved transfers, which is part of the systemic corruption, will come fighting back with false propaganda to remove the minister at all costs and tarnish a well-built image. How else can we explain the suspension of someone who exposed the fraud that occurred in the ministry? How? 44.8 billion was transferred without approvals from the President, Federal Executive Council, or even the knowledge of the minister. Dr. Bett queries this action, and off she goes, suspended in 7 days. How does that make any sense? Regular and a few social media and main media houses were heavily paid to run propaganda for days. Internal persons were also planted to put required pressure on the President to ensure that the minister was suspended. Just to teach her a lesson, never to report fraud when she sees one. This large network of prospective beneficiaries had concerted efforts to defame a minister whose passion and policies were focused on the grassroots and who has shown poise and action to weed out corruption and irregularities within the ministry. This is a young woman with an impeccable track record of over 12 years in leadership roles and public service. Have we lost our conscience? How can we quantify the untold hardship that sometimes irreversible the vulnerable people across the country must have gone through and are still going through as a result of this action, of allowing the plans of corrupt people to prevail? Of all the 8-point agenda the President campaigned on, weeding out corruption, poverty alleviation, women and youth empowerment were the core. Have we asked ourselves, how has the continuous suspension of the best performing minister as per the Guardian UK in 2023 correlated with this agenda? While the President intends to suspend, the President's intention to suspend the minister so that the system could be investigated, the period concerning the suspended minister was barely 4 months. Given that all the projects she achieved were legally genuine, with due approvals, and the said transfer of 587 million naira, which she wrote officially to the Accountant General, and payments were made from the office of the Accountant General. Given that she followed the laid-down regulation from Chapter 14, Section 3 of the Federal Government Financial Regulations, which states clearly that, in quotes, in the disbursement of funds for non-personal advance for projects and special programs, the leader of the project and special programs shall be accounting officer, while an accountant of that appropriate grade shall be attached to each project and special programs and have responsibility for the disbursement as well as the requirement of the non-personal advances. End of quote. According to this financial regulation guidance, the so-called private account which the funds were transferred is a qualifying account, which is managed by the project accountant, and there is evidence to show that the funds reached the intended beneficiaries across the states. If anything, Dr. Edu is a strong advocate for the rule of law, takes the President's directive seriously, and operates in accordance with the shared vision of the President, which he campaigned on. The least she deserves, the least the people whom she has reached to within the 140 days in office deserve, the least the poor and vulnerable deserve, the least young productive minds with high value addition deserve, and the least Nigeria as a nation deserves, is that the President, as the Commander-in-Chief, push aside completely the false narrative, boldly speak to the Nigerian people as a great leader who has been misled by some disgruntled persons around him and some media houses, and without delay reinstate Dr. Betta Edu as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. Anything short of this result leaves more questions than answers. The effect of this action or inaction is so enormous that it determines the effect this will have on young people and women globally who have been forced out of position of leadership and relegated to the back corners. We have seen presidents claim they are fighting corruption. This is a clear case study. Is our president truly fighting corruption? Is he laying the groundwork for corruption to win? Are we adopting the saying that if you cannot win them, you join them? What precedents are we laying here? Be bold, be courageous, take the fight against the corruption system, like we all should do, until they bolt or simply succumb to their tactics and let corruption consume our beloved country. I wonder who Dr. Edu is protecting. In all this, she has said nothing. It's quite baffling. Who is she scared of? Why is she not defending herself for facts? Is she being made to keep mute? Is she being bullied by a corrupt system into keeping mute? Does she regret her actions of exposing corruption? The facts are clear. That she is not part of the corruption in the system. Rather, she raised the alarm to call out the corruption. The minister should be praised, promoted, and awarded so that young women in power, generally young people in power or aspiring to take up leadership roles in our country, can confidently maintain impeccable services and commitment to our dear nation. They shouldn't be chastised or mishandled or defamed for saying or pointing out corruption where it lies. This battle must not be lost because she then asked questions about people using stolen funds to hijack the media. The battle must not be lost for the sake of the reputation she has built over the years. This battle must not be lost for the sake of all she has achieved within the first 140 days, working tirelessly for the renewable agenda and humanity. This battle must not be prolonged or lost for the sake of the vulnerable. The biggest losers in this time freeze of action, the battle must not be lost to those intentionally allowing the investigation to drag on. The battle is for us all, and this is how to win and reinstate Dr. Betta Edu. Our own president, we all know, Betta Edu, did not bow to pressure when he was the governor of Lagos State, and the state was starved of monthly allocations from the federal government. You did not bow down to pressure when the former governor of Central Bank of Nigeria designed the Naira to decimate your presidential race. You did not bow to pressure when your adversaries were using fake edited memes, fake propaganda, and all sorts of lies to defame your character all over the media and social media. Our dear president, under pressure, you always come out victorious. We expect nothing less. Please, make history again. President Tinubu, reinstate Dr. Betta Edu. Let this good work continue. Let all the 8 points agenda move towards being achieved. Thank you very much. I remain myself,